kyber crystals, that's what they're for.
What kind of weapon?
Look, I have to go.
What kind of weapon?
A planet killer. That's what he called it.
Planet killer.
Someone named Urso sent him, some old friend of Saw's.
Galen Urso. Was it?
I don't know. They were looking for Saw when we left.
Who else knows about
I have no idea.
Wow, man, that was a clip from Rogue One. Ladies and gentlemen, a Star Wars story. We got one of the stars of that movie here with us today. All around great guy, real smooth dude, fancy dresser, great dad. I know these things. He played Cassian Andor in Rogue One, but he's here to talk about Narcos Mexico. Woo. The one and only Diego Luna is here.
Oh my God.
What up, man?
I wish I could start every day like this. You know? It's like, oh my God. Beautiful memories also, like hearing that speech, that scene.
Yeah. Do you remember actually doing that particular scene?
I do. It was quite a scene to play. And I remember, I think, everything we did on that film. You know, like, because I'm a fan also of the universe of Star Wars. So every day I would catch myself experiencing also as a fan, you know, as part of the audience, you know, looking at those sets and all the characters around me, and it was quite impressive, you know. We were never on a green screen or anything.
So you were never on a green screen? Yeah.
I mean, it was, basically we were emulating the way they did it in the 70s, you know, when there was no CGI and all these, you know, softwares and things to do shit. So basically the things were real, you know, and it was amazing as a fan to be able to experience that, and as an actor also made things easier, you know.
We had William Shatner on our show who played Captain Kirk in Star Trek for years, and he revealed to us that a lot of the stage props, like the phasers and, you know, the walkie-talkies and the dashboards and all those things, were really cheap, like stage props that they bought from like a Goodwill or something like that. What were the stage props like for you guys?
Clearly they were not cheap.
Okay, they weren't cheap? Okay.
Not at all. But things worked, you know? Like when you're in the cockpit, if you press a button, things happen, you know? Things move, like the characters are there. They're like operated by someone with a joystick, you know, operating a mask that another actor is wearing. It was stimulating. As an actor, you don't have to imagine things. You just have to react to it, you know?
And it's right there. Yesterday we were on TRL, filming TRL, and you revealed something. You couldn't get into it over there because of the cameras, and it was MTV. I got it. But we asked you about, did you ever take anything from the set? You remember that, man? And you couldn't really get into it. You was giving me the wink, Sway. I can't say it here. But now we on Sirius XM Shade 405, man. You can say whatever you want, Diego.
Exactly.
Man, what did you take from the set?
I mean, it's just half of America listening, right?
No, just the world. No, but anything. What did you do? Help him out with his headphone. His headphone came out. There you go, Mike. He got excited. Diego really, he's like, into the hot
Sorry,
seat
my
right
headphone
now.
don't work. Can't say it.
Like, can you tell us one thing you may have took?
I want to be able to cross the border, you know, again.
Cross the border!
I don't want them to take my visa away. Like, no.
Okay.
George Lucas is on the phone.
All right. Well, what a perfect segue then into why you came here to talk to us today. It's a Netflix series called Narcos Mexico. If you haven't watched it, here's a piece of it right here.
Yo aquí ando construyendo un imperio.
Agent Camarena,
Welcome to Guadalajara.
thank you, sir. And you've seen the desert. Time to meet the snakes.
Who's that guy?
Miguel Felix Gallardo.
The Rockefeller of marijuana.
You gonna bust his ass?
Me voy pa Colombia.
Fuiste loco.
Big money on the trot.
Cocaína.
Get higher, baby. Get higher now. Don't ever come down.
Ay, diles que si alguien quiere hablar conmigo, que aquí me pueden encontrar.
What the hell of a trailer that is right there, man. Whoever made that trailer right there, boy. And this is interesting because Mike Muse and I were having a conversation when I was saying, you know, Diego is in Narcos, Mexico. And then Mike asked the honest question, like, yo, that's still going on. I thought the story was told already because a lot of people thought the story ended with Pablo Escobar. But this is, and you explained it to me yesterday. This is actually about what was other things that was taking place at the same time that Pablo was in power.
Exactly. So that's why it is like a new series, you know. I mean, it complements the other, but we went back on time, and also we're telling the story of a different country, different characters. But suddenly, if you saw the other ones, things start to connect.
Okay.
But they were very smart about this also, I think, and brave to do it, because if you're gonna go into a fourth season, it's kind of nice that you start all over again. You make sure that people can join. You know, that new audiences can
just
join.
catch in.
They can
catch
see
up.
this one and they'll understand what was happening in Mexico in the 80s and how the Guadalajara cartel was built, and the case of Kiki Camarena, that it is what the series talks about, which is an interesting case. It's a DEA agent in the 80s that was working in Mexico. I won't say much because I think you have to see the series, but it helps you understand the relation between our countries, you know, and what happened then definitely got us to the place where we are today.
Okay, all right. And then Kiki is played by Michael Pena,
the fantastic Michael Pena. Yeah. And also you'll find, like, because again they can do great trailers because it's 10 hours. You know, like when you do a trailer of a movie, you just have an hour and a half. But here you have 10 hours of material, and that brings a richness in many ways. Like the cast in this show is amazing. You'll see like the dream team of Mexican actors. You know, because there's many roles. Many interesting roles for them to play, and everyone is like, it's just amazing acting, I think, and the attention to detail also you'll find in the recreation of this Mexico of the 80s, the vibe. It's amazing, I think, because I mean, at least I connect a lot because I was a kid back then.
Yeah, you were born and you were around when all of this was taking place. I mean, you were a young kid, but you were still around when this was taking place.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because we talked about this, touched on it yesterday, and you joked about getting back across the border, but that could be that's a real issue for a lot of people in the States right now, and even the image of Mexico and what Mexico truly is and its history. Do you think by showing this time period, this age in Mexico's history, does it hurt the image of Mexico? Just highlighting the drug cartels over and over again, that seemed to be the draw in a lot of these, when you see these outlets do timepieces about Mexico. We always talk about Pablo Escobar. We're talking about Felix Gallardo, or, you know.
I don't think so. I think it's important to tell the story right. You know, I think they've told us the story as if it was black and white always. You know, the bad guy's there and we're chasing them. That's not true. You know, for this system to work, it has to every level of power has to participate. You know, you have politicians, you have police, you have the military, you have banks in both sides of the border. You know, you have business people. There's a distribution here in the States. There's a market here in the States, the biggest market in the planet, and someone has to feed that market. So it just reminds us that the issue is about all of us. And if we accept that, then probably we'll find a solution one day, you know. But if we tend to point our fingers and say, "Oh my God, things in Mexico are crazy. Their violence." It's not our violence. It's a global violence because it belongs to all of us. The issue, it's ours, and it's in our hands to fix it, you know. And I think, we have to tell the story right. That doesn't mean these are the only stories that should be told about my country. Gladly, I come from a very, very rich country culturally. You know, there's so many Mexicos and there's so many stories. Right now, you can go watch Roma and see a fantastic piece done by an amazing Mexican director that doesn't touch on these issues, you know. Talks about the Mexico in the 70s and other things that were happening back then. Talks about love. I mean, there's many stories. Gladly, there's many voices of Mexican cinema and TV and artists that are telling, who we are around the world.
All right. Diego Luna is here from Narcos, Mexico. He plays Felix Gallardo. Gallardo. How to say? I had it yesterday.
Yesterday you sounded like a true Mexican. Today it's like
Felix Gallardo. No, Gallardo. Gallardo.
Right? Were you drunk yesterday? Because it was perfect.
Damn.
He rehearsed it and everything.
Yo, I was
He was like, all right, I'm
practicing,
gonna get it.
man,
I'm gonna get
yeah.
it.
I was practicing. I thought I had it
Man.
till I woke up this morning.
Great effort, though, Sway. Great
But I
effort.
killed it on camera.
You did. You did.
I killed it.
yeah.
I'm not
What
even
the
gonna- Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, man.
You foolish American. Diego, we're
Damn
talking
gringo.
Diego, we're talking about perception, and obviously we have to talk about the micro caravan that's happening at our border right now. So I'm going to do a conversation later on this evening here on Sirius XM for my own show discussing this issue, and we're talking about perception. And you don't have to tell us which city you live in Mexico, but I'm going to talk later on tonight about the perceptions that Mexicans have towards Americans. We always talk about it from the American lens, but as you are more north of Mexico, close to the United States, you have one perception. The middle of Mexico, there's a different perception. In the south of Mexico, they have a whole different lens of the United States. So I'm curious, in the area that you live in, what is the perception of America? And then how do you feel just personally about how everyone gets grouped as Mexicans? Like all the Central Americans that are migrating north, they're all viewed as Mexicans, and we all know they're Honduras and they're Guatemalans and et cetera. What do you feel personally about that?
You know what I feel? I mean, to answer this question, I think I have to step back and just say something. I think we've allowed that border to define the way we relate to each other.
Yes.
You know, and that's just wrong. You know, because borders do not define us at all. I found when I traveled the first time to Sundance Film Festival, what I found is that there was a whole community. I used to call Hollywood. You know, everything that happened on the north of our border, I used to call it Hollywood. And then I arrived to Sundance and I realized there was so many producers, directors, actors that were doing the cinema I like, the cinema I do, you know, that I can relate to. Cinema that is based on ideas, that doesn't necessarily have the money behind, but that it has the drive of people, of people's talents and needs to tell stories. And I realized I had a lot to connect with. And I had a whole community I could belong to and be part of on this side of the border, and it's, I think we've allowed prejudice to run the way we relate to each other. There's so much more in common we have, and that we have to find out, and we have to be curious about what's happening on the other side. You know, I think the story has been told with a lot of lies. You know, we're allowing a speech of hate and ignorance grow, and we have to fight that back. You know, I saw that caravan go through Mexico. I've been following their steps. It's mostly, you know, families, you know, women, children, men that are trying to escape from violence. They are just surviving, and you cannot blame them for that. You know, and it's a right we all have to live in a place where we can be free and decide who we want to be and grow and change and learn and become useful and to our society, you know. And if you think about and this is not a reaction that just happened in the States, by the way. Right. That happened in Mexico too. It was sad to realize that speech of hate was there too.
It's a nationalist effect that's happening even in Mexico.
Yeah. Gladly, it was a small thing. You know, the amount of compassion and empathy they found on their way through Mexico was bigger, and supported them till the point that they made it to Tijuana, and they're there now. But I just hope they find that everywhere. You know, because just think about the Mexican-American community, you know, and all the Mexicans living here, those who have documents and those who don't. They help build this country, feed this country. You know, they're making America what it is. Yeah. You know, and they're very important, and they're a huge community. And you cannot say Mexicans are the same as people from Honduras, Salvador, Costa Rica, you know, South America. Like, we're very different and different cultures, and we have to acknowledge that. Once we celebrate our differences, then we'll find a way to be richer in terms of the way we live and experience, this journey, right?
Well said, brother.
Diego Luna, ladies and gentlemen, Narcos Mexico on Netflix right now. Albert's on the line from Texas. You want to talk with Diego, 888-742-3345. Albert, good morning.
Good morning. Diego, man, I just wanted to say thank you so much, man. I grew up in El Paso, and I got to grow up between El Paso and Juarez, so I got front row seats to the whole show when it was happening. and you're 100% right, man. I feel like Netflix hit it on the dot, and this story needs to be told right. Because when I moved on later on in life and I told people I was from Juarez, they have such a view of people from us that they think that, everything happens bad in Mexico. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that, man. It is supply and demand. Supply and demand.
Totally, man. You said it right, and I'm glad you called, and because that's exactly what we want. These to be used, so we can help to open doors, and to bring people closer to the truth, and even though we fictionalize many things, what's clear here is that there's more victims, than we think, and the system already is so corrupted and so wrong that we have to change it, and to change that we have to acknowledge that the criminals that are in jail, they should be there, obviously, but there's many out there wearing suits, today.
Writing up policy. Diego Luna is here. Trace, you got a question?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Diego, earlier this week, a friend of the show, Gina Rodriguez, who mainly people know from Jane the Virgin, she made a comment saying how Latina actresses make less than black actresses, make less than Asian actresses. In your experience as a Mexican director, producer, actor, how is it like in Hollywood for yourself? Do you see a lot of the disparity that we often hear?
Yeah, definitely. It's changing gradually. Oh shit! Sorry.
You just broke it.
I just got really angry because you reminded me how little I've been paid these last 30 years of my life. Yes, definitely, and it's been changing gradually. And you know what I think is like audiences are changing the content. You know, they want to see themselves represented on screen. They want to see their stories. I was on a panel about inclusion, and I think we got it wrong for a long time. People thought that it would be inclusive to have characters from every ethnicity in the same films they were shooting. So suddenly the film had people from everywhere, and that would make them all go to the cinema, right? Because they will feel represented. And you go, no, that's not true. That never worked. In fact, what works is you go tell the stories you're not telling. You care about their own stories,
Right.
and audiences are asking for that. I mean, Narcos is 80% in Spanish. And I remember for 10, 15 years being told no one will read subtitles in the States. And you go like, are you sure? Because I don't know. I as a kid started reading subtitles because I wanted to watch those films. So what happens? Obviously, if you don't want to watch that film, you won't care about reading. But as soon as a story matter, audiences were there, and Narcos is one of the most popular series in the planet. And you go like, it's traveling not just in the States but everywhere. I just went to India, to Singapore, to countries in Europe to promote the show, and it's huge there. And they're all reading subtitles. So I think things are changing gradually, and that will change the whole scenario for us, hopefully soon, so we can experience that.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to Chicago on one last caller. This is Marco. Marco, good morning. How you doing?
Marco,
what's up, boss? How's it going, man? Out here, man. Working hard.
Okay, you got a question for Diego?
Yeah, Diego, so check it out, man. So playing such a big part in the show, right? Were you ever worried about playing a part that wasn't supposed to be played, or being more specifically, like ever worried that you weren't supposed to say something, knowing how much power they have at the moment?
To be honest, I was more worried about the politicians. All the material I had as for my research is stuff that has been said. I didn't interview anyone, or I just read the news. I went to many books and and pieces of journalism that helped me understand who this man was. But I kept it like that, all the material, it's been out. This has been written and said about him. I'm not coming up with anything, new, basically. I was more worried about how the politicians were going to react to this, because many of the politicians involved in this era are still there.
They're still here, but he is Felix, the person you play, is still alive, right?
He's in jail, at
Felix
the moment.
Gallardo?
Felix Gallardo, he's still in jail.
Gallardo, how do you say it?
Gallardo.
Gallardo. Okay, Felix.
Here comes the American.
Here he comes. Here comes the gringo. Dun, 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 dun.
I didn't fear. Otherwise, I would never do this. I think there's important things, and then film and work, and I would never put in risk anything I really love. I never felt that at all. I think there is kind of like something has changed in my country, and gladly. I think now we can say what we think, and there's a platform to do that. That was different 10 years ago. Okay. And that gives me hope in a way. Because if we're allowed to talk, if we're allowed to express ourselves, this anger is gonna get out, and hopefully soon we'll start building better things.
Okay, Diego Luna is here. Thanks for your call, Marco. You a citizen.
That's Sway in the morning.
Hey, Diego, before you go, man, the team here, we all came up with a game, and it's called
The Ultimate Trivia Game. Your favorite movie, your favorite album, your favorite whatever. This is The Ultimate Trivia Game. Right now on Sway in the morning.
Yep.
You lose. Good day, sir.
You look so excited to play this game, like he's so like
nervous,
clapping. Right, it's a trivia game.
The only answer I know is my whatever that is. Or
okay, that's
no,
it.
No.
Okay,
Let's do it in the order.
Let's see
All right, so I got to meet you yesterday, and I found out some stuff about you, so I curated this game just for you, based on your answers.
Holy
okay?
shit, that's even more scary.
Yeah. Yesterday, I learned that Pink Floyd is one of your favorite bands. What was their highest-selling album? Was it The Endless River, Wish You Were Here, The Wall, or The Dark Side of the Moon?
Oh, but my God, it's the wrong angle. I mean, who cares?
Well, you did say Pink Floyd yesterday.
Yeah, but I don't like to check their bank accounts,
Okay.
It's like, but I would say that the Dark Side of the Moon.
You are correct, sir.
Okay.
Good. About 40 million. I also learned that the HBO series The Wire is one of your favorite shows. Now, true or false? The Wire took place in Philadelphia.
Ay, cabrón. No. False.
Correct. It took place in Baltimore.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't Philadelphia. I'm glad it was just Philadelphia.
All right.
But, I went to school in Mexico. Like,
Education's the same, man. Don't put down that.
No. If you put a map, it would cost me a lot to find Philadelphia. But
you would know. Oh, I get it. Yeah, I don't know the geography of. I've been to Chichen Itza.
Did
I said that correctly?
You said. I'm starting to love the way you speak Spanish. I'm gonna miss that.
Go ahead. Next question, man.
Exactly.
All right. You directed your Narcos co-star Michael Pena in the biopic Cesar Chavez. Michael also happens to be part of the Marvel family. Which superhero film did he appear in?
See, you and Mike are real close.
No.
Keep in touch. Big fan of his career, huh?
Shit, I said I was gonna watch it.
It's too real.
I was gonna show it to my kids. We talked about it in the tour. Ant-Man?
You are correct.
Oh,
yes.
got it. Let's tap him out. We're going to tap him out right
wait,
there.
because he's going to win a prize. He's got one more.
Oh, okay.
One of your
right.
favorite directors,
Holy shit.
Guillermo del Toro. Which film did he win an Academy Award for Best Director and Best Picture? Was it Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, Shape of Water, or Crimson Peak?
Oh, that's easy. Shape of Water.
You are correct.
Yes.
And you win this Guillermo
I love
del
Shape
Toro.
of Water.
Oh my God! I've been looking for that one.
You for real? Tell him what you gave him, DB.
He gets a Guillermo del Toro Funko Pop exclusive.
There you go, man.
I'm gonna do some voodoo to him.
Okay.
Voodoo.
He's about to give a speech. He's so happy. It's like, Diego, thanks for coming through, man.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
This is a great way to start my morning.
Good.
I love it.
Good.
And this is a great show. And thank you
Aw.
Great
for
job,
having
man.
me here.
Thank you,
Happy to
man.
have you.
Narcos Mexico is on Netflix now. Make sure you watch that.